Hi everyone, my name is George Pena, and in this video I'm going to be showing you a variety of activities that I put into play with kiddos who are having issues with pragmatics. A couple things to know before I get started is that the population that I'm working with um, varies in age from 3 to 4 years old to 7 to 8 years of age. So that takes us TK through third grade. The second thing has to do with not wasting a moment, um, specifically with pragmatics. You know, from the moment I pick up a kiddo from their classroom and we're walking back to my office, well, I use that moment to demonstrate what a appropriate question looks like, an appropriate comment, and just having a general program conversation really. So I'm already feeding what that looks like before we even get into the classroom. Many of us can attest to this. So when they do come into the classroom and we're working with a group, they come in active, right? They got the wiggles. So something that I find helpful is a quick and fun activity to get those wiggles out, right? And to set the precedent. Essentially, I'm front loading them with what I'm expecting from here on out. That is to say, hands to yourself, wait your turn to answer a question, raise your hand, things of that nature. And I work through all that in a quick, easy game called Bingo. It looks like this. You can essentially create your own sheet with any objects or animals that you prefer. And I'm asking WH questions here and allowing each student to answer and helping those who are jumping ahead to wait their turn, right? So I'm setting the scenario right from the get-go as to what now I will be expecting from here on out. And you can use little beans, you can use buttons, so 3 across or 3 diagonal wins it, and we move on. Which takes me to the conversation garden game. It looks like this. So the object of this game is to make comments and ask questions during a conversation to maintain the topic and increase in listening skills. So the first person to fill their garden wins. And this is the same with the other one. You can create your own one with insects, dinosaurs, different flowers, or trees, you name it, whatever works well for your kiddos. But I provide them with topic cards that have relevant questions or comments. If the kiddo is a little bit more advanced, then they could create their own question or their own comment. So if they ask an appropriate question, they get to put a little flower in their garden. If they make a relevant comment, they get another flower. However, if they interrupt or talk too much or make an off-topic remark, they get this visual prompt of a penalty bee, right, to help them put them back in line. And that's a lot of fun. The groups tend to like that game. Now that takes me to another activity. Looks like this. We'll go over it in just a moment. So these are essentially short stories depicting social situations that help teach our students with autism, how to respond or interact to certain situations. These stories are they're similar to Carol Gray. For those of you who do not know who Carol Gray is, she is a public school teacher out of Michigan and has extensive experience working with kiddos on the spectrum. She wrote a series of stories. Unfortunately, they're too long for this population, TK to third. So what Linguist Systems did is created a series of short sentences creating a short story. So again, it looks like this, and there's hundreds of these, right? And they pertain to all kinds of scenarios. And obviously I would select one that's pertinent to whatever situation my kiddo's having difficulty with. So the difference between these is that they have pictures, right? And the stories and the sentences are a lot shorter. So this is shrunken. You can make it bigger so they can color it or create their own picture. And this way they're seeing it, they're reading it, they're interacting with the whole situation, and it really drives it home for them. So, which is actually doing all that is crucial for their comprehension. This activity book is separated into several topics such as behavioral issues, school issues, getting along with one another, home issues, or community problems. Something to note here is that oftentimes students on the spectrum, you can see it, on the spectrum find it challenging to understand many of the underwritten rules of the classroom. Some examples of the underwritten rules would be ambient sounds, not raising your hand, moving in and out of line when you're heading to lunch. So each story helps the student understand how to react, how to respond to their respective situation. So these lessons, here's another one, topic is recess. So these lessons can be divided into behavioral or instructional components. The instructional component is intended to teach the student what they need to say and or do in a social situation that often becomes overwhelming to the child. The behavioral aspect targets specific social problems that need to be stopped. This one is best, the behavioral component is best on a one-on-one basis. The instructional component can be one-on-one or in a group setting. So the behavioral examples of behavioral issues would be biting, kicking, loud noises, so things that just need to cease immediately, and we can address those one-on-one. And what's good about this is that you're essentially creating a book, right? A book for the kiddo to take home, review with their parents or caretakers and teacher. One couple staples, 1, 2, 3, with the cover, and they have themselves a little book. So these are great for reinforcing and helping the student to understand the social world in which they live in. So let's go over this one. It reads recess. So this, the teacher sits on the bench outside. I can say hi to the teachers one time. Then I go and play. I can play on the slide and the monkey bars. I only say hi to the teachers one time. So, in order to drive this home, we discuss it, and then we reread it one more time for them, and then we move on. Again, here's another one. You're listening to your teacher read a story. Same thing. Color it, talk about it, read it, then reread it. This takes us to the final activity. It's a Fold and Say by Super Duper. This social skills activity is essentially a collection of short books that present everyday social situations found at the home, community, and school. So each short story challenges the student to develop their social skills in 2 ways. The first part, it's the student looks and read a common social situation. It's followed by the student deciding what happens next, and then they're able to write or draw a picture of what occurs next. That's over here. And we'll go over this in just a moment. The second part, students are able to answer questions about the situation. So each question, which is right here, helps the student focus on the feelings of people involved in the activity and or explore other possible outcomes that could arise from the story. Let's do this one. Having a substitute teacher, so change, right? Move to page 2. They're short sentences, very easy to grasp, similar to the previous activity I showed you. Molly is in class. Her teacher is not there. A different lady wearing a name tag is in her class today. She starts to talk to Molly's class. Then we move on to page 3, where they're a little bit more advanced. They can write it in, they can draw it, they can do both, whatever they prefer. After we've done this, after we discuss what happens next, then we go into these short questions. The first one reads, "Who is this lady? What will the lady be doing all day? What is she going to tell Molly's class? Why is the lady wearing a name tag? How should Molly's class treat the lady?" Here's another example. Right here, it was an accident. So these stories serve to target a variety of social skills, right? Which will increase the student's overall social language development. The stories also target other important areas such as cause and effect, answering questions, making inferences, logical and analytical thinking. That could be through these types of questions right in the back here. Drawing conclusions. So some activities would include like one story for each child, and then you have each child discuss his or her story with the rest of the group, or you can relate the story to a situation that the student is currently going through. So it would benefit us, it would benefit me to provide them with the topic that they're having difficulty understanding. Something that I was waiting to happen was an interruption, but it didn't happen. So back to the notion of that I mentioned earlier of not wasting a moment. And whenever I do have an interruption, I take that interruption, whether it's a student or an adult, and I have my students interact with them and carry a program conversation, such as, what are you doing this weekend, or how was your weekend, or what do you have planned for this evening, things of that nature, so they can feel more comfortable interacting with other people and put it into practice. Thank you very much.